this fear of failures, we should overcome that, because failures will take place, as I said, and successes await those who are willing to take failures. Then I have said to create things with ownership and pride. Challenge yourself.
In one of your speeches, you had mentioned the fight for the window seat through which the magic of Indian life passes you by. Why don't you tell us about one of your fond memories by the window seat?
So, of course, the window seat of a train affords you something that a bus seat and, of course, a plane seat can never afford, particularly in our country, because it has so many flavors, so many different aspects. So you see indolence, sloth, you see hard work, grind, you see celebration, you see mourning, you see joy, you see pathos. If you ask me any particular instance, there's so many. But let me tell you one of the instances which comes to my mind. So there is a place called New Mall Junction in Northeast in Bengal, and I was traveling from Lucknow to Guwahati, and there is this 1.5 hours stretch from New Jalpaiguri to New Mall Junction. It's so scenic, and coupled with the sound of the train going on the track, I remember, and I'm talking to you of perhaps 1973 or 72, when I was maybe 13 or 14 years old. But it left such a indelible impression on me, because what I saw, I also saw some elephants at far away, people and beautiful sceneries. So it's kind of etched in my mind as one of the best journeys I have ever had in my whole life.
From train traveler to becoming a train engineer, what fascinated you to build trains and, choose this side of the journey?
It's very easy for me to arrogate to myself that I had the dream to become a railway engineer all my life, but that's not true. I was fascinated by railways as a child. I used to remember the timetable and the stations as the train traveled, and the very sound, as I said, of the train moving that on a track and that repeated sound. And I used to love train journeys, but frankly, I did not have an idea that I'll be working for railways one of the days. So somehow I was good in mathematics, so I had to become an engineer. I was in IIT Kanpur. I didn't get good branch, so I went to University of Roorkee in a better branch, which is IIT Roorkee now. And then there used to be a scheme where engineers were recruited by railways, mechanical engineers, for a 4-year course at the age of 16, 17 after intermediate, which is +2 now. And the exciting part was the stipend and the assurance of job at that young age, and that's how I joined railways.
And this project was Project Train 18 to start with, and then became Vande Bharat. It evolved to become Vande Bharat. Why don't you tell us a bit more about Train 18 and how this project evolved to reach that final Vande Bharat mark?
Actually, that's a beautiful question, and it's not frequently that I'm asked that question, because people have assumed that Vande Bharat and Train 18 are the same. They are actually the same. So why Train 18? When we started, finally got the sanction. A GM of a factory can spend whatever money it wants, more than a CEO of a private company, but it needs a stamp sanction from the ministry, because this was a new animal without locomotives. So we need a sanction from the board, which we got after some struggle. One of the questions that frequently arose when we started the work around March, April 2017 and I was retiring in December 18, that we have 20, 21 months before my retirement. We would not be able to complete the project by then, because such a project, if you go to a established manufacturer, is a matter of 36 to 42 months. Systematic working. So we would be in a stage where only designs would be ready, manufacture would not have started, and the new leader would say, why are you purchasing this trouble? Do more of the same. Why taking this risk? And the project may get abandoned. That's when I told the team that, yes, that's a problem. So the only solution is, we will have to work hard, burn our midnight oil, and turn out the train before I retire, so that there is no risk of anybody abandoning the project. And to remind everyone that the train is going out in 2018, in April of 2017, that we said we'll give it a name, and the name given was Train 18. By the time the train had made news, we did not know we were doing something that great. It's not Chandrayaan or Mangalyaan, it's just a train. But it got so much attention and the imagination of people, media. It was all over the news and so on. We were wondering why. The answer, looking back, is that all over the people, all over the country, travelers, non-travelers alike, looked at it as something the Indians had made for India themselves, not an imported technology, their own baby. And the Prime Minister summarizes it beautifully. In every speech on 15th August and otherwise, it must be 5, 6, 7 times already, he says that the train represents the spirit of an aspirational, resurgent India. And that's when the train, first train, when it got out for commercial service, the Prime Minister's office chose to call it, looking at the spirit of the Prime Minister, chose to call it Vande Bharat. So, which is a very befitting name for the train, because you can understand the impact the term has. So, the Train 18 became Vande Bharat the day, I would say, Prime Minister adopted it.
You know, a project of this kind of magnitude and complexity wouldn't have been possible without, the support and cooperation of a team. Why don't you tell us a bit about, your team at the Integral Coach Factory at Chennai, and, who are these men and women behind building the Vande Bharat Express?
So, you are very right. One individual can achieve nothing without a team, especially in case of a project like this. And that's why I've said earlier that it was a matter of fortune. It was bequeathed to me, it was available when I joined there, a wonderful team of engineers and manufacturers, staff and officers who had that extra zing to do something out of the box. My job was only to channelize this energy, and that was fortune for me. Looking back, I would not change one member of the core team. So this is, if this is not fortune, then what is? As far as calling them out, you see, I would not like to name them here because I may miss out somebody and it will not be correct. But I did realize, as the train was being received so wonderfully, I as the leader was definitely getting all the coverage, media coverage, interviews and so on. If I don't call out these people, nobody would. And it was my duty as the leader, because especially after getting so much of attention, to record the contribution of the core team members, calling them out by name and listing their contribution in a story. And that re-motivated me. So in the form of a book, I wrote the story. And in fact, I have a copy here. It's called the My Train 18 Story. It's available on Amazon, but I have no commercial interest in it. But in this book, all the members, to the extent possible, I have named people who contributed towards this success.
So the Vande Bharat Express has the potential to reach a maximum speed of 183 kilometers per hour. And this is the fastest speed a train in India has seen. So what makes this train an Indian engineering marvel?
I would not say it has the potential to reach 180 because it has already been tested at more than 180 kilometers per hour, cleared for commercial operation at 160 kilometers per hour. It has the potential to reach 200 kilometers with some tweaking, which we verified while we were making the design through software simulations. Now, what is the main purpose a train is supposed to serve? Number one is travel time, and then comes the comfort. In terms of travel time, because of its speed and its acceleration, which is much more than other train, it has a tremendous potential to cut down travel time. It has not happened to that extent because the track upgradation has not taken place.
Yeah.
But the potential to cut down travel time is its biggest USP. Then other things like ride index, whether the ride is comfortable, jerk free, the amenities provided on the board, which has so many novel features. You can talk back to the driver, diffuse lighting. The gangway between two coaches is sealed and so comfortable that when you move from one coach to the other, you wouldn't even feel that you're crossing a coach to coach, unlike the rickety vestibule we have today, not good for children and old people. Similar other so many nicely appointed toilets with vacuum evacuation and so many features.
So, with the Chinese, the Japanese and the Europeans coming up with high-speed trains, do you think an Indian train will make it to the top 5 trains in the world? And if yes, when do you see it happening?
Japan built a 210 kilometers per hour train in 1964. So it's 50 years after that we have not even reached where they had reached that time. It's not a world-class train. It's a near world-class train. We must strive to make it world-class.
Amidst all the nuts and bolts, the technology, the mechanics, everything, how Shakespeare?
There's so much of wisdom down the ages, which is articulated in their poetry, that it's amazing. Shakespeare, a lot of people can say a lot of wonderful things about him. What I liked about Shakespeare is practically every situation of life, practically every emotion, human emotion, is covered, and it is also binary. It's not just one way. For the same situation, the gentleman has the luxury to quote through his characters. It's not Shakespeare speaking, it's his character speaking, if it's not sonnets. So he can say exactly opposite of what he has said through some other character, and that makes it even more intriguing. So that's my undying love for Shakespeare. And that wisdom down the ages is what I use whenever I have to speak or, write or whatever situation I have. It helps me immensely. Very grateful that we have had such wisdom down the ages. So that's the genesis of an engineer trying to learn more about life through Shakespeare, other poets, visual arts and so on.
So you have taken an impossible project and proved that you can make it happen and make it possible. What is your advice for budding innovators?
Okay, so I have already spoken about this fear of failures. We should overcome that because failures will take place, as I said, and successes await those who are willing to take failures. then I have said to create things with ownership and pride. Challenge yourself. And one last thing, whatever you do, the people you work with, the work you do, the organization you work for, give it 100% with love. Love people around you. It's not human to love everyone. And everyone is a leader. It doesn't matter how many people report to you. If you're dealing with human beings, you're a leader. Manufacture that love, construct that love, start with love. So I'll express this also poetically in the end, and that is, एक लफ्ज़ से मोहब्बत का अदना ये फसाना है, सिमटे तो दिले आशिक, फैले तो ज़माना है. Which means this word love has this brief story. If it shrinks, it is the heart of a lover. But if it expands, it is the world.